said, I warned somebody that we're going to talk about a really, really tough word today. A really difficult word that has caused so much pain to so many people because it's abuses, and that is the word submit. I can't tell you how many times this has been said to me by different people in different situations that I must submit. And when somebody tells me to submit, what do you think I naturally do? Resist is too sweet of a word. You're too kind. I dig in my heels, I walk away, and this word has been abused. And so I want to start out, not with the definition of the word, but with an apology. If you have ever been pushed into a corner, verbally, maybe physically, and said, you've got to submit, I want to apologize to you. Because most situations, that has been an abuse. It has been used as a belt, as a hammer, as a whatever, to push people up for somebody to get power. And this has especially been true within the Christian community about husbands and wives. And, the wife, I remember I was at a church service once. It upsets me if you didn't get it. I was at a worship service once, and this guy was doing a message. And this particular verse came up, and he went on to describe how a wife was to submit to her husband. Here are some of the examples he gave, okay? Don't argue with your neighbor. Get your husband to do it. You just go in the house and hide. You can't write a check. Your husband, to show that you're submitting to your husband, he must write the check. You have no rights. And I just couldn't believe, and the church has been beaten up for these kinds of things. And, they're my brothers and sisters perhaps, but they are trashing the name of Christ, and many people have been hurt. And if you're one of those people, I want to apologize to you. This has also been used in family situations for abuses on children. Maybe you've seen it, or people in the community, or you're in a store and you see somebody just rip the arm almost out of a child's socket. And they say, oh, well, they're supposed to submit to me. Or maybe you've been in a work situation where they really pushed this on you and said, you've got to do exactly what I say. And they use faith as a sort of a stomping ground to say, you've got to do this. Or in a church situation where a leader or the leaders of a church. We were in the narthex of a church. Does anybody know what that is? It's, you go in the worship center, the sanctuary, and then you come out, and in the back there's always a gathering room, an area, sort of like our mall. That's what's sometimes called the narthex. And we were there, and the church wanted to do a building campaign, which was a good idea. But we had some reservations, which we felt were serious, and we were quiet about it. We didn't go out and protest. We were just quiet. We just didn't give. The senior pastor one morning comes up towards the end of the campaign, puts his arm around Mary Ann, and says, it's time to come on board. And let me tell you, those are a couple of words you don't want to say to my dear, sweet wife. Okay? And for all of this, if you've gone through any of this, I do apologize to you. I am very sorry for the pain, the agony, the feeling of inferiority that was thrown at you. because what it has done has proven that actually Bon Jovi was right. Bon Jovi was right when he sang, "You gave love a bad name." When people in the name of Christ act like this, they give the love of God a bad name. So, what is this whole thing? What is submission? We see it in the Bible. What is it? When you hear that word, what is it that you think about? It's demoralizing. What else could it be? Hurtful. Sounds like you've experienced some of that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And it has, I understand, I do, as having experienced some of that myself. But I think what has happened is that God's idea of what it means has been twisted. It has been turned into something that it was never intended to be. We think of it, it violates my rights, my dignity, my personality. But God's design for it, he uses a very interesting word in the Bible. It's actually a military term. And that military term, I'm going to play a short video clip from the movie towards the front of the movie Gladiator, where the Roman soldiers are going against the Germanic tribes. Did you see what the soldiers did, the Roman soldiers did? What did they do? Put up their shields. Well, they put up their shields, but before they put up their shields, they were in formation, right? They were together. They were one standing next to another. Each person was doing their job, their responsibility, holding the shield in tight formation, walking together. And when the arrows came, what did they do? They put the shields not only in front, but their neighbor put the ones on top. And what did that do for the soldiers? It protected them. Being together in formation, each person doing their job under the leadership, they were able to sustain themselves, to be safe, to protect themselves, and to gain victory. To be in submission, it's a military term. It means to be in formation and to be doing your job. It provides strength. It provides protection to one another. But we have to each do our job. It's the same thing in naval terms. There's a convoy. When there's a convoy, it's not just a bunch of ships that go out to watch the fireworks when they go on the lake. What is a convoy?
It's a fighting force.
It's a fighting force, and everybody's got a position. You know, in this picture, we have a small convoy in the middle, we have an aircraft carrier surrounded by protection and defensive craft. They're each doing their job. They're in their place. They are doing their duty. It provides help. They are submitting to one another. Did you sing in worship this morning? Did you sing? Did you just sing out at any particular time, any particular words, at any particular note?
No.
Why not? Isn't that freedom? You submitted yourself, and there was great joy, wasn't there? It's rejoicing. It brings us together. You can see this. I'm going to use a couple military examples. The first one is in World War II, D-Day. D-Day, the day that perhaps all of history hinged on. Think about this. There are about 7,000 seagoing vessels, over 3,000 aircraft, over 156,000 troops. Did they get up one morning and say, hey, let's go to Normandy? No, why not? It had a plan. The research they did, and everybody was given a job, a task. And this diagram shows the pathways that the ships were to take. Because if they got out of their lane, what happened?
They're disruptive, the protection and the plan altogether.
It's disruption. It puts them in danger. They could be hit. You know, and Theodore Roosevelt Jr. was there on D-Day. He was the only general that landed in the first wave. He was 56. He was like the oldest guy there, too. And when they landed, you know, they came on the craft and, you know, following everything, and they landed. But he found there was a problem, as was portrayed in the movie D-Day.
As best as I can figure it, this is the wrong beach. We landed about a mile and a quarter south of where we were supposed to land. We should be up there. Control boat must have been confused by the smoke from the naval bombardment.
I agree with you, Ted, but what are we going to do now? Our reinforcements and heavy equipment will be approaching in a very few minutes.
I know.
Well, what if they land at the right beach?
The reinforcements will have to follow us wherever we are. We're starting the war from right here. Head inland. We're going inland.
Okay, let's go!
All of that is true, by the way. They landed more than a mile from their designated landing spot. It was a mistake. Well, what are they going to do? Teddy Jr. provided leadership, and he actually said the words, we're going to start the war right here. And he led his troops forward. You see, you can say, oh, I'm not in the right place. Oh, what is me? Or you can say, we're going to move forward anyway.
Let's get her done.
Yeah, sort of like what George talked about with Moses, right? You know, the troops are coming in. What are we going to do? They scream, you know, did you notice the Israelites? They're going forth in boldness, right? They're singing, they're dancing, they're rejoicing. They see the troops, and it's the biggest about face you've ever seen. Now, through all of this, has God moved? No. Not yet. He hadn't moved. Where is the pillar? It's in front of them. It didn't disappear. The pillar is still there. And they see the troops coming. God hasn't moved. He's still there. He's still with them. But guess where they're looking? Are they looking toward God? No. They're looking behind them. And it's then that God moves and gets behind them to protect them. God provides the leadership. God has them in the right place at the right time. And that's part of what submission is. Think about this guy is one of my favorite characters in history. His name is Dan Sickles. He's really famous for a couple of reasons. He's the first guy to ever have committed murder and found innocent for mental incompetency, that he was out of his mind. He killed his wife's lover, and he's the first guy that got off of that. That's one of the things he's famous for. The other thing he's famous for is the battle on July 2nd, which is the second day of Gettysburg. He's at the end of the line of the blue. You see the blue line? Those are the Union troops. He's at the end. And his orders are to stay there, to stay in place. Well, guess what he did? Just take a guess. He didn't stay. He didn't stay in place. He moved. You see the yellow arrow? He decided on his own, without telling anybody, that he was going to move forward. And the effects were devastating. One of his troops, the 1st Minnesota, went into the battle with 262 men. Within 5 minutes, only 47 remained. 82% casualties. Why? Because he didn't submit. He didn't have his place in the line. He was out there all alone. He and his troops were out there all alone. No protection. They actually got attacked from both sides because there's nobody behind them. Minnesota is gone. That 1st Minnesota thing is gone. And he lost a leg. He gets hit with a shell that they had to amputate his leg, all because he didn't do what he was told. He didn't hold his place in the line. You know, this day could have, and what it allowed is, here, this thing's called the Round Top, Little Round Top. The Confederates came within 10 minutes of being able to take that without anyone to protect it. It could have changed the whole complexion of the war. It could have, because he didn't stay at his post. He did not submit to the orders. And, you know, you think about it, we submit all the time. You ever go use the drive-through for anything? You got to stay in the lane, right? You can, you know, try to, how do you move ahead? You can't. You're in line. You're done. And then, or you go to get a coffee. You go inside a store. You're trying to pick up some cold cuts at the deli. Has anybody ever cut in front of you in line?
Yep.
How does that make you feel? Doesn't that just bless your soul?
I let them have cuts if they have 1 or 2 items.
But you see, life isn't made like that. When God made life, God made it as a team sport. We are not individuals that sit alone. We need help. We need one another. All of us here are the products of other people. I would suggest that no one here grew cotton, picked it, then made it into cloth, cut it, and sewed it into the clothes that are on your back. That is just a wild guess, right? Our shoes, everything about us, our food. Yeah, we got a little garden, but guess what? We need other people to grow food. It's a team sport. Even football, the great American sport, is a team sport, because without it, what happens to the quarterback? He gets cremated like this.
Coaching staff, everyone knows about Andy Reid. Brian Flores is really ramping up.
3rd and 12, they've got Mahomes. My goodness, that might be the sack of the year. Jerome Baker knocks him down at the 3-yard line. That's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood. Yes, 30 yards.
Well, this one, you're going to see Agbo's play great this year. Baker off the edge up top. He's got a lot of speed. He's a middle linebacker, 55, and Mahomes thinks he can outrun him. And, wow, that might be the... I mean, how many yards? Jim, what's
30.
30 yards.
We need each other. You can't survive. You can't thrive without help from one another, from someone else. And that's what submitting is all about. The mutual benefit. We all get something out of it. When I submit, when you submit, it is not to be coward or to be abused or to be threatened. God's view is it's for mutual benefit. Both sides gain. And when we come up to, the infamous verse that's always thrown out, wives to submit to your own husbands in the Lord. This is voluntary. It is not at the end of a stick. It is not a threat. And it's to be mimicked of our submission to God. Because are we supposed to submit to Him? Yes.
The paragraph before that says.
You mean the verse before that? Gee, what could that verse be? I wonder what it might be. Well, how about this one? The verse before that says, who's supposed to submit? Everybody. Everybody. We submit to one another how? Reverence for Christ. It doesn't get any more serious than that. It is, we stay in line. We know our role. We do it. George talked about being serious in your faith. Getting to know God, submitting to Him says, I want to get to know you. For all of my life. That's what we're here for. We're here to be loved by God and to get to know Him and serve people. Reverence for Christ. This idea of submission, this word submit, is used at least, is 30-some times. I think it's 38 times is what my searching says. Here are some of the other people that people are supposed to submit to. Well, before we get to the list, that little tease for the list, think about the people who are gymnasts and perform on the balance beam. Do they have the freedom to do whatever they want?
No.
Well, they do, but if they're going to fall off or they're going to lose the contest, it's a narrow bar. It's 4 inches. Yet, by staying in subjection to the bar, there is freedom to do things within that restriction. It's a picture. It's the same way we are to submit to one another. And these other ones. Jesus submitted to His parents. Think about that. The God of the universe, right? God come down. What does He do to His parents? Hey, you don't understand. I'm God, right? No. Did He do? No. He submitted to them. The God of the universe submits to His parents. And here's one we sort of think about. The next one, the demons were subject to Jesus. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. It's a spiritual battle. That's a good one. But, and God's law, we are to be subject to God's law. That's a good one. I feel comfortable about that. But the government? Wait a minute, God, and Apostle Paul, who wrote this, let me, do you know the coconuts we have running our country? Do you have any idea what these numbskulls are like? And we're supposed to do what to them? Submit. You're out of your mind. When was the book of about governments, Romans? When was this written? Where was Paul? He was in prison. What kind of government was Rome? It was not a republic. It was not a democracy. Okay? It was a bloody and brutal government that took whatever they wanted, did whatever they wanted. There were about 5 to 10 million slaves in the Roman Empire at that time who were treated like dirt. But there is still a submission to them. It's hard to figure out. It's not always perfectly fair, but that is the instruction. And then we are to be subject under Jesus. The people who say you're supposed to be submissive to me, how submissive are they to Jesus? Is the question I always want to ask. Or, every human authority, the elders, and to God. This is just a sampling of some of the subjections. People don't talk about these. They talk about the other one. Why? They're all just as important. We are all in subjection. We are all have a role to play. Because just like those soldiers in the clip, if some guy's goofing off, what happens to the people around him? They get killed, they get hurt. They're exposed to danger. Sickles, yeah, he lost his leg. But how many people were destroyed because he didn't stay where he belonged? And now some of this idea of being in subjection requires faith. It's not always going to be, in black and white. Faith is, Hebrews tells us, is the confidence. It's the ground on which we stand. It's the ground where you put in this idea of confidence is where you build the foundation. And we have the assurance. It's the proving the reality of the invisible. There is an invisible realm, and it's real. And we have tested. God says, come and test me in this. There are times when we can do that with God. Say, God, we need you to show up. Egypt was attacking Israel. Israel was like, we need you to show up. And God did show up. Think about subjection in your body, and I'd like to use ribs. Not barbecue ribs, but, your ribs, your bones are in subjection to one another. They're aligned to one another, and what do? What do your ribs do? Protection, what else? They hold things in place. Where are your lungs if there's nothing there to hold it? Right? It protects. And the interesting thing about your ribs is what? They move. Right? They allow your breathing. You go in and out. And they are breakable. But, they're in subjection to one another and the body. They have cartilage. That's what holds it together. It's not, it's not like, drilling holes and putting a bolt through there. No, it's flexible. But the idea they're in subjection, they are in subjection to the lungs and the heart. And what happens if you break a rib? As Donna said, what happens? You hurt?
Very painful.
Why does it hurt? Why does a broken rib hurt?
Well, it may puncture your lungs or something else.
That's one of the secondary things, absolutely. But I know this is hard for me to think about. Bones are hard, right?
Maybe that broken bone just helps support the rest of them, actually.
Yes. But your bones are alive. The hard thing, they're hard, right? But they're alive, which means they've got nerves. And when you break a bone, why does it hurt? The nerves. And the thing about your ribs is, when do your ribs stand still? Never. When you're dead, then your ribs stop moving. Because when do they move when you breathe. That's why it hurts so much, and you can't move. Your ribs are always on the move. And if you get hit hard enough or fall to break a rib, well, guess what? The lungs, the heart, and the liver are potential casualties in that. A collapsed lung, your spleen. When they're doing their job in place, they provide strength and protection. But this isn't the way we want to live life. I mean, you ever been to a buffet? Oh, yeah. When you go to the buffet, what's the first thing you go for? Dessert. Anybody else? Anybody else? What else do you go for? The shrimp. You go for the high-end stuff, right? But, you know, the buffet is there for everything. We want to pick and choose the shrimp and only pick out the big shrimp, right? Or the steak. Or, you know, I'll pick out the desserts first. I'm going to ignore the salad. And what's the bread for? I don't get this, right? Or rice. Or green vegetables, you know. You know, we were out on vacation out in Utah, and we stopped at a place, and it had a buffet. And so we don't like buffets, but that was it. So I bought the buffet, and I went to go in line. And the first thing you do is what? Walk around. Look it over. See what the good stuff is, right? And then you, on the way back, you say, oh, there are the wings. I like wings. I'll pick some of those up. Oh, and the meat. I don't want any green beans. Not today. You know, I don't want salad now. In the spiritual life that's in front of us, we don't get to pick and choose. And when it comes to submission, we don't get to pick and choose who or what we submit to. It's not an option. This is not a spiritual buffet where we get to pick. Now, people have abused this, as we said in the beginning, and I am not giving them a pass. God will hold them accountable, and God will judge them, and God will take care of it. The only question is, am I going to take my hands off their neck long enough to do that? You see, when I take revenge, when I do it, what does God do? He backs off. He backs off. When I say, you dirty so-and-so, I'm going to get you because of what you did to my family or to me or the person I love, they're held accountable. But God says, I'm going to wait. And we don't know how that's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to happen. It's that faith thing. We say, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I'm going to release them to you. I'm going to dedicate them to you. Because submission is for everyone. All of us. It doesn't matter what place or role we all have. We all do it. And why? Why do we do this? Why are we we're commanded. Those are not suggestions to submit, by the way, okay? To submit to the government isn't, yeah, but you don't understand. I'm really smarter than the police and the people who built this road, and the speed limit is a suggestion, okay? And the red light, by the way, is very pretty, but that's a suggestion. I don't have to do it. The stop sign, nah. The double line, what's that about? It's not for me.
It's called consequences.
But when we think about this. When I stay on my side of the road and I obey the traffic signs and laws, where can I go? Anywhere. I've got great freedom. The freedom isn't on driving on the other side of the line. The freedom is being where God wants me to be. And Jesus himself is our model. The one who died for us is our model. Philippians 2. This just crushes me. Rather, Jesus made himself what? Nothing. He submitted to his parents. made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. And what does a servant do? Submits. The servant's job is all about their master. What can I do for you? And being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled. We don't like to say that H word. He humbled himself, becoming obedient to death, and even death on a cross. He submitted to the will of the Father. He submitted himself to Pilate. He willingly submitted himself to the people who came and arrested him. Think about that. Remember in one of the Gospels, they say, "Where is this Jesus?" And he says, "Here I am." And what did they do? They backed up and fell over. It's a great opportunity to escape, right? But what did he do? He stayed. He said, "Here I am. Come and get me. Leave these guys alone." He was willing to submit himself for you and for me. This gives no one the right to abuse you. I can't begin to tell you how awful that is, or what you may have gone through. But if Jesus could do that for you and for me, maybe, just maybe, there's an opportunity for me and you to submit to him and to those other people God has put and authorities he's put over us. Not that they're perfect, because they're not. Okay, let's be really clear about this. We're told to, Paul says in Romans, submit to the government. He's in jail by the government, for goodness sake. And yet he's telling you and me to submit, because God, even through that, can work. I know this can be a painful subject for some of us, but it is an opportunity for victory in Jesus when we, in his name, can show respect. Don't you want to be respected? We were talking about, being in line, somebody butting in line. That's a little thing. But whether it's at work or in your family or in different situations in your communities, we want to be respected. And you and I have the opportunity to do that every day as we willingly submit. Jesus willingly submit. And when Jesus willingly submitted, those weren't people who were spiritual giants, by the way. And yet his death led to our forgiveness. His resurrection. Just really wants you to consider it. To submit, that we would submit to God. That he would use us. And under God's power, that we would rightfully submit. That doesn't mean to stay in a situation where you're getting beaten up. Okay? I'm not saying that is not right. You're not told to do that. But to be able to say, God, could you use this? And he can. Would you pray with me? Our Father and our God, I thank you that you are the God who submitted. You came down. You became in the likeness of man. You became a man, fully God, fully man. And you were a servant. You were not just a servant, you were the suffering servant. Forgive us, O God, when we start thinking about the rights I'm due May you, God, the God who came down, give us power to obey you and follow your lead. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, you all have a great week. It is such a joy to see you all here. God bless you. And this will be up on the internet if people are interested. See you all later. Bye-bye. And thank you, Rich, for sharing your story.